I was scrolling Instagram and I saw this Miss Pakistan USA page on social media. And I was like, what? That there's a thing? Yeah, like Pakistani representation, like pageantry hota hai. I'm like, that's such a taboo topic, such a controversial topic in our community. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, I want to join. All the girls that were in the competition with me were amazing, were great, you know, which I really appreciated. उनमें कोई नहीं था कि like, oh मैं जीतूंगी, आप ना
No
जीतो.
jealousy or competition, yeah.
No. And you know, ये oftentimes hota hai, unfortunately, in competitions.
Yeah.
But I was very lucky.
Because it's a competition,
Exactly. You know, it was a very friendly competition.
That
you know, it was
nice
fierce, but it was friendly enough that no one was hating on each other, which I really appreciated. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes consistency and perseverance. But once you do that and you find your true unapologetic self, that is your greatest superpower and your weapon, being your authentic self. And no matter what comes your way, it can't bring you down because you know your self-worth, you know your value, your morals, and nothing can come in between that.
Salam, hello, and welcome to Scribble Sessions with Momina, where we turn the pages of life and explore the untold stories of our incredible guests. So bear jai and grab a cup of chai as we welcome our guests today. Today we have a very beautiful and talented person with us, and she's also Miss Pakistan USA 2022. I'm very excited to learn more about Uroosa today. Uroosa, thank you so much for coming.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. I'm super excited.
I'm so excited to chat with you and learn more about your journey.
Absolutely. I'm excited to share.
Yeah, let's get started. Uroosa, can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am the oldest. Me and my sister are about 6 years apart. It's just my sister and I. And then it's my parents. I grew up in Queens, New York, born and raised, a very proud New Yorker. So that pride, no matter where you go, it stays forever.
Once a New Yorker, always a New Yorker.
Absolutely, exactly. So it's just my parents and I, my younger sister and I, and then we used to live with my grandmother, my dad's mom, but she's no longer here with us. But it used to be us in a big household, but now it's just us four. You know, we're a very small, immediate family, but mashallah, my extended family, we're huge. There's a lot of cousins I grew up with. Everybody is in New York. So I've always had exposure with them.
So you're close to your cousins?
Oh, very much. Yeah. So on my mom's side, I'm the oldest. There's about 11 of them. I'm the oldest,
mashallah.
and then on my dad's side, I'm like the second youngest.
Okay.
So I'm not the oldest, so kind of the youngest. But yeah, mashallah, I grew up with all of them. They're kind of
and
like
they're
my
all
brother
in New
sister.
York, both sides?
Exactly, yes. They're all in.
That must be fun.
It is, exactly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I used to have a lot more cousins. Some of them moved back to Pakistan, so I only have one cousin here.
Yeah.
And there's there's a huge age difference.
Would you visit often?
Yeah, we're super close. She lives in Ashburn, but we're super close. We visit a lot, but there's a huge age difference. I'm like, I wish we had like cousins, our age growing up. But yeah, that's nice.
No, it is. It's very sweet. I feel like, especially sometimes, when you meet someone, they're like the only child, they don't have siblings. I think your cousins become that, which is really nice. It also feels like home, so they've become home for me regardless, because I grew up with them, so it's been very sweet. Mm-hmm.
So you were probably the first one on your mom's side, at least, to experience high school life or even college life.
Oh, yeah.
And you had probably cousins coming up to you for advice and questions.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So for the 6 years, I was the only child on my mom's side until my younger cousin came, and then my sister came. So I think I was the guinea pig. कि जिस पे test किया जाता है, like how to experiment on them. But, I loved it. I think it taught me a lot. Being the oldest, being the one and only. पहले मुझे प्यार भी बहुत मिला, unconditional love. So that's definitely a part of my childhood where I was spoiled. So some would say I was a brat growing up.
Because you were the only child for like 6 years.
Yeah. So, me, on my mom's side, I got a lot of love. I was spoiled. I was able to do anything and everything I was allowed to do, within means, within boundaries. So I was able to explore and be who I wanted to be.
Yeah.
So until my cousins came, until my sister came, it was just me. So I allowed to kind of be a free bird.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever get a feeling that maybe I can't, do things and just try out things just for the heck of it because, you know, I have so many cousins and I have a sibling looking up to me.
Oh, absolutely. I think I was always mindful of that, you know, because I felt like there's so many younger ones that are looking up to me. You know, I have to get it right the first time.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, I didn't get no manual. I didn't get no book, like, this is how I need to do it. I didn't have anybody older than me.
But they did because they had you.
Exactly.
So it is a responsibility in itself, especially once you start college. You have your younger ones who will be starting high school, and then they come to you for questions.
Yeah, no, and I take that with such pride, with great pride. Being the oldest sister, being the oldest cousin, for me, I take that with such pride. You know, I hold that with a lot of honor because I think, you know, there's younger ones that look up to you. You know, they learn from your mistake. They learn from your experiences. Who else do they have? Of course, you have your parents that guide you. You know, they become the pillar of your life. But what about everybody else around you that actually experiences different things that are close in age with you, you know? So I think that's very important.
Definitely, because there's an age factor too. Even though you're like, you know, 6 years apart, at the same time, you're the last one to experience those things. So they would rather come to you than go to their parents or your parents.
Exactly. Yeah, because sometimes you don't want to share it with your parents. You don't want to share it with an outsider. You know, I think it's important to come and ask and seek that advice from someone within your own home. Because why go out, you know? Because there's a lot of judgment out there. I think they need a safe space within their own homes to do that.
And that's very important in our South Asian culture too, because the trust has to come from home. You don't know the person outside, you know, if they're trustworthy or not. Your friends you're going up to, or, you know, anyone you're talking to outside of your family, you don't know if they're trustworthy or not.
Exactly.
And there's a lot of taboo topics. There's a lot of topics that, you know, bring embarrassment, whether it's even like, you know, a question simple as like, you know, what style of clothing should I, you know, have in high school? I know XYZ is wearing this. Should I? Because there's a lot of like, you know, you don't want to be asking your mom because the first reaction could be very
like Yeni Beno. Yeah, you know, you can't.
Or it
this.
could be like my chappal utar lungi, something like that. You don't know exactly. So
That's
you know,
true.
Coming to you may be a lot easier for them than, you know, going up to the parent.
And for me, it was more so, you know, career advice. You know, oftentimes being at that young age, you don't know what you want to do, where to take your life. You know, and especially in the South Asian community, there's a lot of pressure.
I feel like you're the sister I wish I had. Because my sister and I were only like 2 years apart. She's definitely been my mentor, but when it came to like, you know, making decisions about, you know, what major I should do, because I was very firm in what I wanted to do up until I was in high school. I had, like I said, I have an older cousin here. So she was really good with advice. She has sons who are almost my age. They're only a few years younger. So she was like, well, this is what I tell my sons, you know, don't change your major a lot. Don't be going to like counselors in high school and like in college, because they'll just tell you to do whatever your heart desires. But then I'm like, okay, I'm good. And then I graduated from high school and then I started college and I'm like, I want to try everything.
Yeah, I know. There's so much out there. And how do you tailor that to what you like and what you want to do? Because there is so much information out there. So who do you go to? So oftentimes, the career that I had picked, it was more so in the public service field. Because I knew I wanted to do something that I enjoyed. But obviously something I can make a living off of as well. But something I believed in. So for me, public service was the route. I know I wanted to give back. I know I wanted to have an impact. So what's the route that I can do that is fitting for me? And that's the one big advice I would give to my younger ones, my younger cousins or my younger sibling. You know, do something that speaks to you and something that, you know, whatever you want to do in life, that regardless if you become tired of it, you know you have a passion for it. If there's one bad day, you know you love it regardless of what happens. So for me, I think that that's very important.
And I think every job can get tiring, but if it's rewarding at the same time, you don't get tired of it.
Exactly. So, no, absolutely. Like my day-to-day for my job, if there happens to be a bad day, it's okay. I know there's a greater impact. I know there's a purpose behind it. And in life, we all look for purpose, right? We are all looking for something that drives us, what motivates us. So whether that's your career or your creative outlets, like, I think it's very vital.
No, definitely. Thanks for sharing that, because I feel like, especially when you're in high school, whether it's freshman year or even by junior year, yeah, you have to kind of pick something if you're ready to go to college at that point. But having that one person who knows how to give the right advice is so crucial, especially in the South Asian community.
Exactly.
Because a lot of, our parents are immigrants, or even like yourself, you could be an immigrant just moving here, starting high school, and that advice is something that's very needed.
Yeah. And then our parents went through very different struggles, being a daughter of immigrants, we understand that they go through several struggles that we, alhamdulillah, did not have to face. And we're enjoying the fruits of their labor, and the biggest thing for me is now how do I turn that around where they can enjoy their fruits of their own labor? I think that's very important, because oftentimes those struggles that they went through, we will never know about. We have it a lot more easier. We have our own sets of challenges, but it still requires us to give back. I think that is our duty. At least I believe that for myself. And I try to pass that along to my younger sister. Don't forget about your parents. Don't forget about those who supported you, loved you. You wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that.
Definitely. So, no, thank you for sharing that. I think a lot of it comes with being understanding and having that empathy for your parents as well, because when you're struggling as a student or as just an adult, it's kind of hard to look elsewhere, and it's not really elsewhere, it's your own family, but you're like, well, I'm struggling, I don't know exactly what they went through, I have a lot on my own plate. But once you get past your own struggles and kind of be where you think you're in a stable place in life to help others, and it starts within home. I think it's really powerful. But I do want to ask you, how do you find that confidence? And it doesn't come easy. And once you find it, it gets easier from there. And it's very rewarding from there, because you're able to help yourself, you're able to help your parents, and make a huge impact in the community. But until then, how do you find it?
So absolutely, I think it takes a lot of time. I think it's evolution. It doesn't happen overnight. You need to work on it. So for me, for example, I think at a very young age, I think it was something that was embedded in me. There's a quote that I recently read that I think describes me perfectly, and many women, I feel like. So it's the oldest daughter of immigrant parents is the toughest man you'll meet. And I say that because in my household, I am the oldest, and for me, I feel like I had to fit into the role of a daughter and a son. Because my dad will always be like, aap meri beti ho aur beta, not that he ever had a wish that I wanted a son, why did I have daughters, he's very prideful of that, and he loves us. But I feel like as the oldest daughter, when you don't have brothers, you fit in those roles. So for me, I kind of realized that at a very young age. I saw the struggles for my parents. I knew they were facing certain challenges. How do I help? How do I, kind of work towards a goal that I know it'll be easier for them in the future and my own family? So in high school, I started to dive into so many clubs that spoke to who I was. I was trying to find my path. I think for the younger generation, what I did for myself was try to get into certain things that I knew I liked and I didn't like. You have to figure yourself out. You're so young.
Definitely.
Understand that your self-worth and your value hold a lot of weight, but it takes practice. After high school, after joining all these clubs, I was in talent shows. I wanted to break out of my shell, I enjoy dancing. I love dancing, and I know within the South Asian community, being in a Muslim household, sometimes that becomes, very controversial. I'm not a professional. It's just a creative outlook for me, And for me, I joined clubs such as the Red Cross, nonprofit organizations, and I was the vice president for the Honor Society. I wanted to try different things that I felt like spoke to me. After high school, I went to college, and I was very studious. For me, my goal was to graduate, do as best as I can, and continue doing things that spoke to who I was as an individual. Because every chapter of our life teaches us something different, but you need to explore that to understand it. And then after that, I kind of moved. After college, I alhamdulillah got a job, and I moved to DC. I was in the DMV. Did I ever think as a South Asian brown
moving
female,
alone?
Exactly, and that too before marriage. Quote unquote, that is like the stigma within our community.
I want to get into the whole process of how it happened, especially being the oldest And you are also, like you said, you set examples for
Yeah.
the younger cousins and your siblings, your sister. Before I ask you that, I do want to ask you, in high school, what year did you get into all these clubs, or freshman year starting, you knew you wanted to be a part of different clubs?
So freshman year, definitely not. I think I was the person that I am sitting here before you. It was totally different in freshman year of college. I was very shy, very timid. I say to myself, but then sophomore year, changes happened. I met different people, certain challenges, certain adversities where it allowed me to open up. I was no longer that shy girl. That was the year I was like, I'm going to explore myself. And I tried anything and everything.
Do you think there's anything you could pinpoint to that helped you kind of break out of your shell?
So I met certain friends that didn't necessarily turn out to be friends. I think you learned that very early on.
I feel like that's a lot of us in high school.
Yes, exactly, because I feel like many of us can relate. Either we were bullied or we didn't fit in when we were trying to fit in, and oftentimes that kind of kicks at your self-confidence, and I think we spoke about, what helped me build that, and it was a knock on my confidence. So for me, I knew either I allow this to beat me up, or how can I build myself up? So sophomore year was definitely the time that I started to explore myself, and then I never looked back, and I continue doing that moving forward throughout my life and where I am today.
Do you have any advice for anyone who's watching, maybe going through high school, or even a parent possibly watching who have kids who will be going to high school? Any advice for them to how to kind of survive as a South Asian student especially when you're shy, or to yourself, or maybe when you don't have the support that someone with a lot of cousins, a lot of siblings who went to school had, and definitely a lot of the times you can't go up to your parents and ask those questions. So if you have any advice for them.
I'm a firm believer in creating your own path. This is your journey. You come into this world alone, and you need to find that for yourself. You might not have the support right away. You might not have it from home, but once you try new things, once you put yourself out there, you will find those people that will support you. It's not easy. It's not easy to start off. We have to come out of our comfort zone to do that. But you're not going to know unless you try it. You're not going to find out unless you put yourself in those uncomfortable positions, because those are the positions that are going to help you grow and become the person that you envision yourself to be.
Definitely. No, I think that's a great advice, because I feel like unless you start doing that, you don't really attract the right people, because it's like law of attraction, right?
Exactly.
If you surround yourself with the type of person you want to be, you are more likely to become that. Or if you just, open your mind into the possibilities that, yes, maybe I can be that. But then again, it comes with confidence, and like you said, with time.
Exactly. It takes time. It really does. And it definitely didn't happen for me overnight. Because after I moved to the DMV, I was doing everything on my own. I did everything on my own. And for me, it was scary. It was lonely. It was uncomfortable. And I was figuring it all out while making sure that no one back home was worried about me. Even though I had the full support and love for me to kind of be a free bird and spread my wings, it was a lot, but I had to figure it out. There was like a point in time where I was 3 months in living alone, and my parents, and I was crying. I broke down, and I was like, I don't know if I can do this. And they were like, Ghar aajo wapas. It's okay, wapas aajo, move ho jo baake, like wapas, it's okay. And I was like, nay, I can't do that. Because if I give up now, I'm going to regret it.
Yep, definitely.
And that's something I couldn't do to myself. And I kept moving forward. And when you face those moments that you feel like you're on the verge of tears, you're going to break down, that's the moment you can't give up on. Because you're going to look back, you're going to remember that fight, you're going to thank yourself, you're going to thank your future self. And I think that's very important, especially for our younger generation, especially females, to realize that moment.
That is such a powerful message, because I feel like when things get uncomfortable, it's very easy to kind of go back to your comfort, what you're used to, and it's only then you realize, oh my gosh, I know why I was struggling so much to get out of it. Why did I get myself back into it? And I do resonate with you a lot when you said, if I didn't, I would have regretted, because I could maybe point to a couple times in life where I was like, I wish I pushed a little bit harder, because now I'm like, I do regret it. and you don't learn. I think it's better to do something and try it out, and even if it doesn't work out, at least you tried. You don't have that regret
Exactly.
than not trying at all.
Yeah, and you don't have that what if in the back of your head, because the worst that could happen is that you get a no or you happen to fail, but failure is just another way for you to try again. There's something else out there for you. If it's not one thing, there's something else waiting in line for you.
Definitely. Was moving away the hard part, or living alone?
I would say both. I'm very close to my family. Like I told you, I didn't think I was gonna move out as a South Asian brown girl before marriage.
And alone, because you didn't have any company, you didn't have any friends.
So the DMV, I didn't know a single soul in DC. I didn't know anybody. So I was literally starting my life from scratch. I did live with roommates. I think I lived with 5 different people the time I was in the DMV. So I didn't know them. They were my roommates. We didn't necessarily become friends. But, we had a healthy enough relationship where we were able to live comfortably within each other's presence. So that was okay. But living alone, being away from my family, I was constantly worried. Is everyone okay back home? As the oldest daughter, and like I mentioned, the son at the same time, is everyone okay? Do they need me? That worry never left me.
Did you have any guilt at any point that maybe I'm not being there for them?
Oh yeah. Constantly. I think that's what ate me up at sometimes, because I'm like, I need to be there, I need to do more. But, not that they ever made me feel that way. Definitely. They wanted me to continue to do what I needed to do to succeed in my career and my life and to find who I was as an individual. So that was a huge blessing. But like I mentioned prior, I felt like I always had to give back some way. So for me, it's something that's embedded in me and it just doesn't leave me.
And it's hard. I think it's a part of all of us, and that is why I think your story is also powerful, because it didn't come easy. Because if it did, then it's just it's not a powerful story then.
Absolutely. And I don't think anybody really wants the easy route. Someone who is actually trying to convey a message to the world or hit a certain audience, why do you want it to be easy? Struggle allows you to be who you are. And I think adversity is powerful. You might not think so in the moment. None of us do, because nobody wants to necessarily face it. We want everything to be handed to us on a silver platter at times. But once you overcome it, it's that much more impactful.
No, definitely. I want you to kind of share the journey of getting to this point, because you're at a point, mashallah, that you're traveling back from New York because you know people here, because you have events to attend to, and we want to definitely in a little bit we will get into that as well, but fill me in about how you made those connections and what was the process like, or even for anyone who is planning on moving out or maybe to a different state.
So, once I first moved here, like I mentioned, I started my life from scratch. मैं किसी को भी जानती थी, इधर नहीं जानती थी. It was very fresh, very new for me. So for me, I'm a firm believer that I had to put myself out there. मैंने different clubs joined किए फिर से. For example, dance club, मैं dance team में थी. उस तरफ से मैं Yumi को मिली थी, who was a big choreographer in the DMV. I met a lot of other individuals. बहुत सारी लड़कियां थी, very nice, तो हर Saturday में जाती थी. Maryland में practice होती थी, मैं DC में रहती थी. तो like हर सुबह घंटे की drive होती थी मेरे लिए.
How did you even find those clubs at
social media, Instagram? I was like, मैं देख रही थी, okay, DMV foodies, DMV dance clubs,
anything DMV,
exactly, right? Or anything that spoke to me, who I am, and I wanted to find like-minded individuals in that realm. So I joined the dance club. I used to be a part of other clubs within my job. So for things like that, I had to make sure that if I wanted to find my network, mujhe dost banane the, how do I get out there?
You have to put yourself out there.
Exactly. And then on top of that, there is this app. It's known to be a dating app, lekin they have a friendship side of it.
Oh, okay.
So that's how you find friends. Bumble, I'm not sure if many people know, but so that's how I met a lot of girlfriends out of that.
Nice.
We would go out for walks, we would try new brunch spots, DMV mein to itna khana ko milta hai, a lot of brunch spots. I love brunching. So that's how I got to know my people. That's how I began to build my community and that people that spoke to me. So
oh, that's really nice. And that's a very interesting take, because a lot of people just use dating apps to find dates. I think there's a lot more apps now that are for I think I recently saw an ad for moms, like,
Oh,
just
really?
connecting with each other. I'm like, that's really nice.
That is sweet. Yeah, like it's little things like आप शायद सोच भी नहीं सकते होगे,
Yeah.
you know, but like it's important that you meet people that think like you, have the same similar interests like you, or that आपको नया perspective दिला सकें.
Definitely. I mean, you moved from New York to DC, but a lot of times, even if you were to stay in the same state, I think when you're growing up, हर बंदा आपके लाइफ में सेम स्टेज पर नहीं गुजरेगा. Maybe some of your friends are gonna get married before you do. Some of your friends are gonna travel before you do. Or some of your friends are gonna have a different take on life or views. So you need someone who kind of resonates with where you are in your life at that time. So
Absolutely.
You moved to DC, तो आपके लिए easier था to find people here. I mean, not easy, but like it's much easier to connect.
Exactly.
Because you're from that area in that moment. So that's definitely very important, and having that connection kind of helps you, stay sane while you're staying there.
Yeah, because your mental health is so important, and that's something that we tend to, हमारी community sometimes we overlook it. हम इस चीज में बात नहीं करते. It's such a taboo topic, unfortunately. But like you mentioned, you have so many people in your life that go through different stages. अभी मेरे सारे दोस्त हैं, आधे की शादी हो गया है, like, or they want to have kids, and I'm not at that stage in my life yet. For me, there's different projects that I want to work on. I want to travel. I want to see the world. I want to still continue in my career. So things like that, but within all that, your mental health, right? How do you take care of your sanity, your well-being, emotionally, mentally, and physically? They're all intertwined and they all matter.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like having those friends, because you definitely want to stay friends with the people who are different at different stages in life, because पुराने दोस्त होते हैं, at some point you guys were really close, maybe लेकिन बहुत ज़रूरी होता है to find the right people who kind of help you and support you and motivate you on your purpose that you currently have.
Absolutely. I'm a firm believer. And that's the thing. Even if they are in different stages in their life, eventually you might get there. Their insight, their perspective, उनकी advice काम आ सकती है.
Definitely.
And I think that's very important. But as long as वो आपके लिए अच्छा सोचे, they love you for who you are as a person, वो सच्चा दोस्त होता है. For sure.
No, definitely. Did you make a lot of friends in high school? And are you still in touch with them?
Yes, I think the majority of the friends that I have today are from high school. Because I got into so many clubs, I got to know people, I kept those friendships.
How about college?
College, I was also on a dance team in college, but I didn't make any friendships out of that. I was very studious. I was very into my books, so I didn't really have a social life in college because I had one purpose, and that was school. That was my goal. And then after I moved to DC, that's where I made my second set of friends. Just adulthood mein, जब आप career में होते हो, you graduate college. That's where I made my second group of friends. So high school and then post college, that's where I could say friends who have become like family. Oh,
that's really nice. Now I relate to the first part. I did make majority of the friends I still have now, alhamdulillah, are from high school. Some of us, started college together and we remained friends. But making new friends in college, I mean, my goal was the same. Get to class, do your stuff, and go back home. And I feel like when you get to college, basically your goal is to kind of start thinking about your career and future plans. So it's like, you're more ambitious than, it's like take it easy type of situation is no longer an option. But it is a work in progress to find the people who are on the same journey as you now, because after college, I'm like, okay, how do I make new friends? What do I do?
And especially after COVID, I feel like people don't know how to interact with people anymore.
Oh, definitely.
Or be who they are, because they kind of miss that social interaction. So now the world has opened up again, so people are trying to socialize, go to events and things like that. But how do you do that?
Everything's from home now. Work from home, school from home.
Yeah.
Even events are happening on Zoom.
I know, right? And I was like, it's not the same.
People are getting married on Zoom.
I know. Really? Is that a thing now?
So when we were just taking a walk and we interacted with a couple, and they were like, we got married in 2020 and they had a Zoom wedding. I mean, it was nice because it was during quarantine and they really wanted to get married, so they got married in their backyard. And they had immediate family, but they had a lot of friends. They wanted them to be a part of the wedding. So
You gotta get creative.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So
and
they said they had like about 200 people on the Zoom call.
Okay.
Yeah,
Got
so,
it. I mean, you got to make it work with whatever circumstances we had.
I'm not sure if they had like a post-COVID wedding or like an event, but definitely that was the first time I heard of it. I'm like, that's exciting and that's new, that's different, that's where the world is going now. But it is still very crucial to have like human connection, like real life connections.
Exactly, because that's what keeps us going.
Yeah.
More than anything. People say that money makes the world go round, but I think it's your relationships.
It's your connections, it's your relationships.
Absolutely. I think it's the people that help you stay alive, keep you alive, that, kind of boost your energy when you're around them, help you light up the room with you. I think those are very important people to have around you. You can't ever let them go.
Definitely. No, I agree with you. When did you think it was time for you to try something different? Because you moved in DC for work and then you made a lot of connections. Yes. When did Miss Pakistan USA come into the picture?
So honestly, the weekend I moved to DC and I was scrolling on social media because I was so eager. I want to get out there, I want to try new things. I was scrolling Instagram and I saw this Miss Pakistan USA page on social media. And I was like, what? That there's a thing? Like Pakistani representation, like pageantry hota hai? I'm like, that's such a taboo topic, such a controversial topic in our community. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, I want to join. But usi hafte jab main move hui thi, usi weekend ko pageant tha. It was too late. I couldn't join it.
Okay.
So I was like,
2021 mein?
Yes, 2021 mein. So I was like, you know what? It's okay. Once 2022 hits, the next year, मैं definitely apply करूँगी. I'm going to join. I don't care, Did
you not have questions कि like कैसे process क्या है, क्या करेंगे, or did you just wanted to jump right in and try it out?
Oh, I definitely wanted to jump in. I did my research. I'm someone who likes to do my research. I want to know what it's about. If it's something that could fit me and who I am as a person. तो मैंने right away उनकी website में गई. मैं देखा, who started it, who was the founder, who the president is, what's it about, what does this mean, And I was like, you know what, this is perfect. First of all, it's Pakistani, I'm Pakistani, female representation, I'm a female, and it gives me a platform to speak to who I am and the message that I'd like to convey one day. So, moving forward, time passes by, next year comes, and then it's time for the pageant. I got in contact with the president. I had to fill out an application. Pehle application hoti hai, wo puchte hain, hamare, like, tell us a little bit about yourself, aapke likes, aapke dislikes, what do you like to do? Agar aap jeet bhi gaye Miss Pakistan ka title, what would you do with it? Uske baad jab maine application fill ki, and then I had the president reach out to me, and then we had our little mini, I guess you could say, introduction audition over the phone. Very simple. Okay. I was very eager, and then before I knew it, I was a part of the pageant. I was a pageant girl, and I didn't even think of myself ever being a pageant girl. But it was a weekend-long competition. But alhamdulillah, it went great.
Oh, mashallah, that's awesome. What was the journey like? Because weekend goes by really fast, but at the same time, it's there's a lot happening.
Oh yeah. So it's a Miss and Mrs. So a Miss Pakistan is obviously the single one, and the Mrs. who's married and still wants to represent, which is amazing. I think the way they split that in was awesome because we both have different messages we want to convey.
Yep.
So the weekend we met with all of the competitors. There was about, for the Mrs. side, I think about 9 to 12 of us. And then the Mrs. was about 4 to 6, if I remember correctly. We're meeting everybody, and there's intense back-to-back rehearsals, because there's different rounds. You have the talent portion round, you have the question round, and then you have a post question round, because you are in different wears. You have your evening gown, you have your traditional round, and then another outfit of your choice, while you also get a question asked on stage. So there's different rounds.
And you have no idea what the questions are, right?
They did give us a handout prior to 100 plus questions.
How much time did you have?
So they give us like a few months. This, the questionnaire we were handed, like,
really nice.
kuch mahine pehle hame mila tha, which was great, but aapki marzi, aap practice karo ya na karo.
Yeah.
But then the day of, you don't know which question you're gonna get. And
Definitely.
You're in front of all these people, But my biggest thing was, the best I can do is be myself, my authentic self, I'm going to portray who I am. Maini koshish karungi to fit in, to be someone I'm not.
To have a script ready
Exactly, and that's the best I could do. All the girls that were in the competition with me were amazing, were great, which I really appreciated. उनमें कोई नहीं था कि like, oh मैं जीतूंगी आप ना
No
जीतो.
jealousy or competition, yeah.
No, and ये oftentimes होता है, unfortunately, in competitions.
Yeah.
But I was very lucky.
Because it's a competition,
exactly.
Yeah.
It was a very friendly competition.
That
it
is
was
nice
fierce,
to
but
know.
it was friendly enough that no one was hating on each other, which I really appreciated. So back-to-back rehearsals. Very intense. We would go to sleep at 3-4 o'clock in the morning just to wake up at 7 in the morning, but it was worthwhile.
Was everyone staying at the same place?
Yes. So we had a roommate.
Okay.
And my roommate, fun fact, me and her she was runner up. So I was it was kind of sad to see both of us up against, I guess, each other on stage when they were going to announce the winner.
Yeah.
But she was great too. Everybody was great. So that it was definitely one heck of an experience.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Did they have a criteria that the contestants needed to meet in order to even be a part?
I think there was an age limit. I think you have, of course, Pakistani background. More than that, you had to be a female. Other than that, nothing else. It wasn't
That's
strict.
Nice.
It was very open. It was more so about you representing yourself, your culture, your community.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is very fitting to who I am as a person.
And it sounds very welcoming too.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and the president was great, very open, very vibrant. So I felt comfortable in that presence, in that competition. So.
Yeah. And before you found out about the pageant, did you actually think there was a lack of representation in the South Asian community?
Absolutely. Firm believer in that. I feel like we oftentimes want to see change. Aisa hona chahiye, waisa hona chahiye. But why not become the change that we're looking for? So within our South Asian community, especially the South Asian females, like I feel like there's a lack of representation to be on stage, speak your truth. Haq ke liye ladna chahiye. I feel like that lack of confidence or lack of support isn't there. But I think you need to pave that path. And so for me, I wanted to teach the younger girls or the ones who come after me that it's important to stand in your truth, be unapologetic in who you are as an individual. And I'm like, the only way I can do that is if I have a mic in my hand.
And a platform.
Exactly. And people who actually want to hear what I'm saying. And once I have that sash and that title, people will take me seriously.
Definitely.
And I think that played a huge role in that.
Yeah. No, thanks for sharing that. You have a platform now where you can share your true message, which is great. I did want to ask you, you shared that when you moved from New York to DC, you had no idea you were going to be a part of this huge platform. But moving, even though it is an uneasy process, not knowing anything and leaving your family, your loved ones behind, it may have been a little easier because your family was really supportive. And when we talk about, being a representation for the South Asian female community, it, is not really easy for a lot of South Asian women to make that bold step, especially अगर कोई पेरेंट्स ऐसे हैं जो सपोर्ट नहीं करते इस आइडिया को कि लड़की अकेली मूव हो जाए or do something that's unusual. Exactly. That's not the straight path. Even for South Asian men, for immigrant parents, they have worked really hard their entire lives to for us to do something different, for us to try photography or singing or beauty pageants, because for them it's fun, it looks nice, and they would tell you the same कि हाँ ये try कर लो. Some parents could even say हाँ ये try कर लो 6 महीने 1 साल के लिए, लेकिन वापस career पे focus करना.
Exactly.
You, mashallah, have both going on. You have a successful career, and at the same time, you have the opportunity to explore this area and, be the face of, Miss Pakistan USA. But at the same time, I want to ask you what advice you would give to someone who doesn't have that kind of support.
No, absolutely. You are absolutely right. Within our South Asian community, oftentimes हमारे parents को होता है कि lawyer बनो, engineer बनो, doctor बनो. There is no other path. And if you're going to draw outside the lines, then you're wrong. I'm a firm believer कि अपने माँ बाप को बिठाएं and have those open conversations respectfully. Be very open and honest कि I understand आप हमारे लिए बेहतर चाहते हैं, लेकिन there's so many opportunities there. And I can show you that there's so many log who have tried it and have become successful.
Yep.
Have a little bit of faith in me. Give me some time. You know, माँ बाप तो हमेशा हमारे लिए बेहतर चाहेंगे. But
Definitely.
sometimes, you know, they don't know better because उन्होंने जिंदगी या ऐसी देखी नहीं होगी the way we may have. You know, the way they grew up, the challenge they have faced, very different from what we face. So I think it's about being very open and honest with them. Be transparent.
Yeah.
Build that trustworthy relationship with
your
them.
parents. Yeah.
Absolutely. For them to know, ठीक है, you know, even though this decision I'm not the most comfortable, but I will trust you enough. I'll give you a certain time frame to allow you to explore yourself. Show them the results.
Yeah.
And over time, those parents will eventually support you. You know, they'll understand your perspective. But it takes time and effort on both ends. So I wouldn't say it's just the kid. Parents could be also realize होना चाहिए कि, you know, we're
open-minded थोड़ा होना चाहिए.
You know, it's a different world now. Times are changing. So let's evolve and let's meet our kid in the middle.
Definitely. No, I do think that's a great advice, but I think sometimes parents also want to support you, but there's this fear of log kya kahenge.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to your kid. Everyone's like, okay, if your kid doesn't turn out to be the best kid ever, it's your fault. तुमने तरबियत नहीं सही की. So sometimes even when they want to support you, उनको ये डर होता है कि, you know, लोग खुश नहीं होंगे. So that's why they kind of project that onto you.
Exactly.
So even if you try to show them perspective and, like, you know, okay, my results दिखा सकता हूँ, it's really hard. And getting someone who's, you know, there's a huge age gap and there's culture differences because if they grew up in Pakistan, India or any South Asian country, उनकी life वहाँ पे बहुत different थी, customs different थे, culture different था. Not only they moved here and chose a different life for their kids, you know, there's an age gap and then there's, you know, a mindset difference. How do you even navigate through those differences to try to show them your perspective?
Exactly. I think we need to accept the fact that we can't change everything about them. You know, you have to be willing to budge somewhere. कि उनकी mindset, the way they were raised, जो उन्होंने देखा होगा अपनी जिंदगी में, is very different. And you have to be okay with that. We as children have to be accepting of that as well.
Yeah.
You know, हर बात तो हम change नहीं कर पाएंगे, you know, and लोग हमेशा कुछ ना कुछ बोलेंगे, जो भी आप करो, right?
Yeah.
So let them talk. You know, we come in this world, in this life alone, and we don't come with a script or a manual to guide us. We have to figure our own path out. You know, parents have to accept us. They have to accept that mindset. They have to meet us in the middle. But as children, we need to do the same. And we need to learn to be okay with that and move forward in a healthy way.
Definitely, because I think it will take generations to kind of break the cycle.
Yes.
You, mashallah, have good experience growing up, how you had supportive parents, and that helps. I think हमारे साउथ एशियन कम्युनिटीज़ में कुछ ऐसे भी लोग हैं जिन्होंने एक्सपीरियंस किया है कि पेरेंट्स सपोर्टिव नहीं थे, फैमिली सपोर्टिव नहीं थी, और siblings or cousins, whoever, and that comes with a lot of mental health issues and trauma because it kind of you're basically split into two things. You want to try what your heart desires, at the same time you want to please because you have that immigrant background. You want to please your family, be a people pleaser, and it's very crucial to take a stand for yourself and look out for your mental health as well.
No, 100%. It really is. Oftentimes हम भूल जाते हैं कि हमारी emotional mental health it plays a huge part. You know, I think it's about having those conversations. You know, कि like oftentimes हमारे parents ने ये कभी सोचा भी नहीं होगा कि mental health कोई चीज़ भी थी. You know, it was never talked about. It was never a thing. You know, especially mental health within men as well, females and males. Something that we tend to overlook. We don't talk about. You know, and it's important for us as children who are experiencing these new roles and adventures that we are mindful of that, and we pass that along to anyone who's younger than us.
No, definitely, that is great because I think mental health is something, even it's a learning process for even the newer generations because they grow up hearing कि हाँ you're not close to God. That's why you're depressed, and you could be close to God and still be depressed. It's just about where you are in life and what struggles you're experiencing.
Exactly.
So I would go back to your point where finding the right type of connections and people that you can call your family.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we cannot expect everything out of one person, one relation.
Yeah.
You can't expect a friend out of your mother at the same time, a mother out of your mother.
Absolutely.
So having those right relationships, I do think help a lot.
No, absolutely. Like, you have friends for different reasons. You know, you connect with each individual in your life on a different level. You know, and if you find that safe space, you go to them. Like, for me, my safe space is my younger sister. Even though we're 6 years apart, she's my best friend. She allows me to stay grounded. And I think that's important, having people around you who allow you to stay humble, stay grounded. No matter what you achieve in life, no matter what you go through in life, you need to have someone who still brings you back down to earth. You know, you can go very far in life, you know, but I think still knowing that you're a human being and others are human beings as well, treat them equally, regardless of your title, regardless of what you do in life. And I think that's very, very important.
No, definitely it is. So post pageant, you said you had a message that you wanted to share, and you wanted a platform to share that message. Would you like to share that message today with the audience?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, the biggest thing is allowing yourself to be your unapologetic self. I'm a firm believer in finding who you are, your individuality, your self-worth, especially for young females. When you find your path, it could be challenging. You may get into wrong things, take a wrong turn, but it's very important to believe in yourself. You have to be your biggest advocate, your biggest cheerleader, because if not you, who else? If you're not going to believe in you, no one else will. So if you find yourself in a stage or a platform like I did, make sure you put it to good use. People will listen, people are watching you, and it's very important in how you carry yourself. And while you work on yourself, it takes time, it's absolutely worth it, because no matter what adversity you might face in life, once you know who you are as an individual, nothing can break you.
That is a great message. Thank you for sharing that. And I hope it reaches to anyone who needs to hear that message. And like we talked about before, a lot of this comes with confidence. I want to ask you if you had moments of doubts at any point, even during the pageant or at any stages of your life where you were doubting yourself, or maybe thinking about yourself through someone else's point of view and judging yourself. And if that was true, how were you able to get out of it?
Oh yeah, I have those moments of doubt even until this very day. You know, I feel like oftentimes people may look at me and say I have this, you know, title, and then I might be, you know, X, Y, and Z, super confident, this and that, but I'm human. You know, I've had it throughout the pageant. I've had it prior to any other goals that I wanted to accomplish. You know, doubts are very normal. They happen. We're human. Sometimes we kind of fall into that imposter syndrome, and that's okay. But I think it comes from a place when you care and you have a passion for something. You need to keep reminding yourself that, why did you come to this point in life? Why did life bring you here? There has to be a reason, you know? Why did I come across that pageant platform? There had to be a reason. And, you know, alhamdulillah, I won. So for me, that reason paid off. And just like so many several steps in your life that you may encounter, there's a reason for it. I'm a firm believer in that. And for me to overcome that doubt, I need to remind myself of my purpose. Why am I doing this to begin with? My why comes to my family, my parents, my sister, my self-worth, my future self, my future family. Those are my whys, and I need to constantly, consistently remind myself of that.
That is very powerful, because sometimes you yourself isn't a good enough or enough reason to bring yourself back. You have to, when you start thinking about the other people you would be serving or you want to serve, it's much easier to bring yourself back.
Absolutely.
And, you know, just out of that mindset of doubt.
Exactly. Like, who are you doing this for? Is it for people or is it for yourself? You know, is it for just others to watch and say, congratulations, you did it so well? Or is it for who you want to be, who you set yourself out to be in your future? I think those are very important distinctions to make. You know, do we do it for social media to see now? Or, you know, I think that they're very clear distinctions that we need to be mindful of.
No, absolutely. So you shared that, alhamdulillah, you were lucky enough to have a platform. You also won, so you had the chance to share your message. You had supportive family. Tell me a little bit about maybe a fear you may have had, because you shared the vision with me. It was all positive things. You wanted to network with people, you wanted to find a platform, but there's a lot of stigma with a title like Miss Pakistan USA or any pageant. Did you have anyone come up to you or any of your family members or something even indirect, and how did you deal with it?
Oh, 100%. I was ready for it, because this is such a controversial part within our community to kind of take part in. The first person was my mom,
Oh,
it was,
interesting.
as supportive as she was, she had her doubts. She had her questions.
Before?
Absolutely. Rightfully so. She was like, I mean, I am Muslim, so for her, it's like, Islam, you can't do this, it's not okay.
Yeah.
And I understand and I respected it wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
Her perspective was that it was more so about your beauty and showcasing yourself, and I wanted to kind of shift that mindset. Even with my grandparents, they're like, first of all, I didn't tell anyone, actually. I didn't tell anyone but my parents and my sister. That's
Is that why you didn't tell anyone?
Yes. I'm a firm believer in I'm going to do the job first and then
show them the results.
Exactly. So I didn't tell anyone at first, but whoever did know, which was my parents and my sister, my mom was like, she had her questions. She was like, what is this? What does it mean? I said, Mama, don't worry. Jab inshallah main jeet gayi na, main aapko dikhaungi. It's more than a beauty pageant. There's so much more to it. And it comes with so much opportunity that I'm going to give you the opportunity to understand that there's much more than fashion and beauty and things like that. After that, once alhamdulillah I did win, my grandparents and maybe a couple of my uncles were like, what does this mean? Like, what does Miss Pakistan mean? What do you have to do? Are you going to be in fashion shows now? Are you going to just be like the face on magazine? Are you going to model? What does it mean?
That's what a lot of people think it means.
And I took that responsibility in my hands to be like, I'm going to showcase ye pageant tha, of course, but it's more than beauty. It's more about networking with people, showcasing yourself, representing yourself as a female, the challenges you faced, and how can you help the coming generation. I wanted to change that mindset. This was also a big part of why I did that pageant, with those doubts. People are gonna have doubts. They're gonna have their questions, and I think it's when you try to do something new and that's out of the norm within your community, log to bolenge, just हमने बात
इस
की
community में वैसे भी I don't think there's a lot of pageants, especially here
Exactly.
in the area. From what I know, I never heard of any other pageants other than Miss Pakistan USA or Mrs. Pakistan USA.
Exactly.
That was the first one I came across, and a person who has no idea about those beauty pageants, they would think, and I wouldn't blame anyone who would think that, but I feel like the type of person you are, it all depends on the person. You could make this all about beauty and pictures and
exactly, and that's a
nice
fun part.
Dresses. That's a fun part of it.
It is.
It you have to have a message
exactly
to convince people, and especially your family, and it is a lot harder to take criticism or even any obstacle that comes from your family. It's a lot hard to deal with because you don't care about log kya kahenge, because who are the log, you don't care.
जैसे हमने बहुत है, log हमेशा बात करेंगे, whether you do this or that, you know, and that's why I would get opportunities for fashion shows, and I love that, I love that aspect. That's very fun and it's exciting, it's thrilling. However, जब मुझे opportunity मिलती थी, मैंने बोला, अगर hosting की हो, networking की, या give me a platform that empowers women. Give me those opportunities. I want to send a bigger message. Title to बस एक साल के लिए होता है, right? मेरे 6 महीने गुजर गए. I have 6 महीने left, and then there's gonna be another title holder. So while the time I have to do what I gotta do, and I have this title and my sash and my crown, which is all great, I'm going to make it the most. I'm going to utilize it to its fullest potential. That was my idea. That was my thought. And that's the thing. Log are going to have their doubts. They're going to have their misconceptions. And it was hard coming from my mom when she had a hard time digesting this whole concept. But I told her, I'm like, Mama, aapne puri saal all my zindagi, you trusted me, right? So trust me on this thing. I'm not going to disappoint you. I'm not going to steer it the way that you might think it might be, Give me that chance. Like we talked about before, having that open conversation.
It goes back to building that trust with your parents.
Exactly.
That's that's a great way to navigate, because I feel like if you were to just say, this is what I'm gonna do, you have to deal with it. It's
Exactly.
really hard for any parent to deal with that, especially with your child.
Yeah.
But other than your mom, especially after winning the pageant, was there anyone else in the family or anyone you knew who was like, ye kya?
I feel like,
Other than your family members.
I feel like aside from people possibly, you know, having their doubts or questioning me, I think I also got kind of like, oh, I can't believe you won.
Oh.
You know, or kind of like,
that's a different take.
You know,
on this.
it's a little bit like people would start hating. You know, I got those. I got the judgmental eyes and things like that.
People who didn't want to see you win.
Exactly, and you're gonna have a lot of those. You know, but like, you know how they say the haters are your motivators. You know, but you know, again, it did affect me to some degree. But I had to remind myself that
it minimizes your success.
Yeah. And but at the same time, I'm like, you know, I put the hard work. Everything that I am today, or the title that I want, it had nothing to do with them. Yeah. So I'm like, it's okay. Let people judge. Let people say what they have to say. You know. And till this day, I get that. So there's some people who are very supportive. They love what I do, and you know, they want to see where I take this title, which is great. But there are people who don't want to see me succeed with this title, because of course they probably want to do it, but they didn't get the opportunity, or they don't have that, I guess, confidence, or they have their own stigma. But that's okay. But I need to continue to remind myself why I'm here and why I did this to begin with.
Definitely. No, that is great. So you have any plans of going to Pakistan anytime soon?
So, fun fact, I've never been to Pakistan. And reason being because I grew up with both my mom and dad's side in New York. Yeah. So I had all my cousins, my sibling, and my grandparents. So
everyone was here?
Oh, everyone was here. So I had my home away from home. Born and raised in New York. So no plans in the near future, but I have been wanting to go. I want to see my home country, my people, my parents' families, their khalas, their khalus, you know, and where they grew up, where they were raised. You know, it holds a very sweet spot for me. Nothing yet, but inshallah, I really hope we can sometime soon.
No, you'll definitely love it, because I feel like there's parts of New York that are almost like mini Pakistans.
Oh, okay.
I've been to New York once. There's some parts. I'm not sure if you. I don't even know those cities. I think Buffalo, New York.
Okay.
There's a lot of Pakistani community. They have little shops outside.
Yeah.
But I feel like when you actually visit Pakistan, you're gonna really like the culture there.
I mean, the culture is within my home. Like, I was born and raised with the food,
so
clothing, the language. So, you know, I don't believe in that realm, which I'm really appreciative and grateful for. That's why I take a lot of pride in being a Pakistani American, which is beautiful. I know some people might say like, oh, you've never been, that's crazy, you know, aap kaise nahi gaye. Like, and you know, many of these people, unke grandparents are there, nana, nani, ya cousins. For me, you know, sare idhar hi the. So for me, I didn't necessarily have that.
I feel like you can't really say you experienced any less of the Pakistani culture, because you learned the culture from your grandparents and your parents and people around you. And if you had everyone around you, then, you know, you learn that culture. You grew up eating that food. You speak the language. So,
absolutely.
Like you said, home, far away from home.
Exactly. And culture, tradition is very important to me. You know, no matter where I go, no matter what I do in life, those are my roots. That's a part of my identity and what makes me who I am today.
Yeah. Definitely. And you share a lot about your work and your future projects and your current events on Instagram, and you talk about advocacy for women. Would you like to share about some of your projects?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the fun part of being a title holder. My past projects that I've worked on was a Women's Day panel in March. It was Women's History Month, and so for me, I kind of got together women who had South Asian background, Pakistani, and have been in different realms professionally. So for example, I had someone who was a biochemist, someone who was more so into women's health, and someone who ran for Congress. You know, and all these South Asian women who are so powerful, who also have a family, but are still, you know, advocating for themselves, and different women in different fields. So I brought them all together to kind of speak on their challenges, what they faced, a little bit about their field, and what advice that they can give to the younger generation to come. It's so important because, having these conversations is vital. And then in addition to that, I was invited to a Turkey relief fundraiser. Unfortunately, the earthquakes that happened in Turkey and Syria, I was invited to speak on behalf of that and the importance of it and raising funds for that disaster that took place. In addition to that, actually, as we speak, tomorrow I do have an event that I'm hosting. It's a musical night with 2 performers, singers, in addition to the well-known Pakistani actor Junaid Khan, where we'll have a little bit of a Q&A session and get to know a little bit more about him and representing the Pakistani film industry, the community, and culture. And then one thing, I only have about 6 months left within my reign, so I plan to host a self-defense class for women.
Love that.
I think that skill is very important. It's vital for us to have. I feel like as females, we already go through that fear every time we step out of our house. God forbid something could happen, but having those skills, being on alert and ready, could potentially save someone's life.
That is a great idea. I think, yes, I agree with you. It is much needed.
Yes.
You're working on some great projects.
Thank you.
It's amazing. It's amazing that we have a platform. You have a platform, and you are setting, like you said, you emphasize a lot on, you only have 6 months left.
Yeah.
So it's like you really care about the time that you have and the title that you hold, and you're making sure you do as much as you can during that time to make sure you make the best impact possible you could. And even if, sometimes people have setbacks, if you try 10, 20 things, maybe 5 of them are gonna work out, but that will be enough because you'll know you tried your best.
Absolutely. And the 6 months, I say that because I'm like, I'm never gonna have this title again.
And you've done some great work. The woman you shared that you interviewed, and the stories, and sometimes not only it helps other people, it helps you. During this podcast, most of my guests, and I call this scribble sessions, therapy sessions, because to me, I feel like a lot of the messages, even after speaking with you, a lot of the things you shared, they resonate with me. I find some of the messages very powerful.
Oh, I love that.
And I take away notes from myself too.
Yeah.
And during conversations that I have, I'm like, you know what? From that episode, this person said this, and I actually resonate with it. I think that was a great advice, and that is an example you're trying to set.
Yeah, I love that because that's why I think it's important to speak up, your truth. You have so much power in your voice because you don't know who's listening, but somebody's listening, and it might hit home for them. And as you mentioned, and I think that's amazing. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, of course. I would love to ask you, growing up, because you did say that you watched Bollywood movies, who was your favorite actress or actresses?
So funny, I oftentimes get that I look like Preeti Zinta or Kareena Kapoor, or I act like Kareena Kapoor. I've gotten that throughout my life, and it's funny, I really like Kareena Kapoor.
And you give off poo vibes. I felt that throughout the podcast, and even off screen when we were talking, I'm like, yeah, I definitely feel it. That's why I wanted to ask you.
Yeah, I do. I really do like her. I think it's her confidence. I think it's her being very open and bubbly, and I appreciate that. I think even if I've seen her interviews, she's herself.
She's filterless,
Exactly, and that's, like we mentioned before, the message I want to convey is being unapologetically you. As long as you're not harming someone intentionally or unintentionally, I think just be who you are, flow, and go with life as you want to live. And I think she resonates that. That's why I feel like I can resonate with her. So yeah, she definitely has to be my top.
So real life babo.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
No, definitely. I think even she shows that through her work. You can see it. She has that energy, and even in real life, she's a mom, she's a wife, she's a daughter, and even in her interviews, she does a podcast.
No, I did not know that.
She does an interview / podcast style.
I need to check that out.
She usually has celebrity guests over, obviously, yeah, she's just herself.
Yeah, and I think that's the best thing that you can be, is yourself. I think that's your greatest superpower, honestly.
Definitely.
So
no, this was definitely your message throughout the podcast, and the message that you essentially would like to share. Are there any thoughts that you would like to share for the audience watching?
No, absolutely. I think my biggest message overall, as I've been conveying throughout the whole podcast, is to be yourself, to find your own path. Even if that path might seem a little lonely at first and you're the only one creating it, I guarantee you people will follow you. But you need to be able to venture out first. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes consistency and perseverance. But once you do that and you find your true unapologetic self, that is your greatest superpower and your weapon, being your authentic self. And no matter what comes your way, it can't bring you down because you know your self-worth, you know your value, your morals, and nothing can come in between that. So I'm a firm believer in that, and I hope throughout my life I continue to convey that message. I continue to carry that, and especially for the younger ones or the audience home watching me today.
No, absolutely. That is a beautiful message, and thank you so much for sharing that message with us. We can definitely feel that anyone who would be watching this can hopefully get inspired through and follow their dreams.
Absolutely.
And once you do follow these steps, you basically become unstoppable when you get out of your fear
Absolutely.
of being judged, being caring too much about other people.
Exactly. Because once you work on yourself, you know who you are. No one knows you best besides who you are. You know your own deep inner thoughts. Not everybody knows your single thought but you. When you're genuine, you're true to who you are as a person, people around you see that and feel that. There's like that sixth sense. And I'm a firm believer in that, and that resonates with people, and your vibe, your energy reaches hundreds of people throughout your life, and you got to keep that alive no matter where you are. And even if somebody tries to bring you down, you know yourself. You can check in with yourself, be like, well, I'm not this person. I can't control everyone's mindset and how they think or believe in me. I can only do that for myself, and that keeps you pushing.
Of course, no, that definitely did inspire me today.
Oh, I'm so glad.
I really appreciate you coming out, taking your time out. I know you have a busy weekend going on, and we had a really fun conversation.
We did. I loved it.
Yeah.
I thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure, and I'm going to see you on your next show because you already invited me.
Yes, definitely. And you were, this is a little spoiler alert, you are planning on doing a podcast anytime in the future. We don't know when it's going to be.
Oh, absolutely.
But
in the future, definitely. I have the name set for it, inshallah. But stay tuned for that, and I'll let you know, You
heard it from us first.
Yes, you did. Exactly. So, absolutely.
Yeah, really excited about your future projects, and thank you so much again for taking your time out.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Thank you, Momna.
Thank you. Thank you so much for watching us, and we will see you next time on the next episode. Allah Hafiz.